No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
The air is thin up top, and that's where the Winnipeg Jets now reside, atop the Central Division in a tie with the Dallas Stars. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show with Dave Minuk. With Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here on this Friday evening to discuss the Winnipeg Jets ending their road trip with a flurry of goals, defeating the Pittsburgh Penguins in a place that Winnipeg Jets teams don't usually win. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Jets victorious tonight by a 4-1 margin. Gentlemen, even though it's been only about 23 hours since we last got together, it's good to see you both on this Friday evening. I hope you're both doing well and enjoyed tonight's contest.
Good evening, boys. Yeah, if you're a Jets fan, you definitely enjoyed that contest. If you're a Penguins fan, especially the 16 or 17,000 people that were watching that game, I think you would be asking for your money back because, look at the Jets. The second period was in this game was clearly when the Jets took it over, right? And in the third period, though, I mean, Mark Scheifele, puts it out of reach, but what kind of fight pushback was there in the third period? It looked like the Penguins just kind of accepted that they lost. And Dave mentioned this as we're watching it here. It's like the Penguins are the fresh team, right? They haven't played since Tuesday. They've got Carolina coming in. And if the Penguins play like that against Carolina, I mean, that game's going to be over in the first period, right? So, yeah, the Jets, considering it was the second game of a back-to-back, guys, it was really impressive.
Yeah.
And you really like what you saw really from everyone, right? David Riddick, really solid. Obviously, that was one of the best games that we've seen Cole Perfetti play this year. But, from Mark Scheifele to Blake Wheeler, Kyle Connor, Pierre-Luc Dubois, I liked what you saw from Carson Kuhlman. I thought that was maybe one of his best games as a member of the Jets, just top to bottom.
Yeah,
the Jets were just way better than the Penguins, and it was really, surprising. Even without Chris Letang and even without Jeff Petrie, you've still got, Crosby, Malkin, Jake Gensel. You've got enough good players there, but the Jets shut them down big time.
Well, Dave, if you were watching that game and you knew nothing about either team's schedule, you would have assumed the Penguins were the team on the second half of a back-to-back. And usually, the team that's on the second half of the back-to-back, in this case, obviously the Jets, usually they're able to keep up with with their opponents, for the first, 20, 30, 40 minutes, and eventually the heavy legs, the lactic acid, it all builds up, and eventually you see that team sort of dip. The Jets didn't dip. The Jets got stronger as the game went on. This was as complete an effort as you have seen from this team. It's as complete an effort as you're going to see from any NHL team. And I'm going to use this word. It was the effort. Stay with us, folks. It was the effort of an elite team tonight. Because it was. I mean,
I feel when Drew only brings up the word elite, it's Drew doesn't it's like a slow clap, right, Drew? You just don't pull out elite anytime. You wait for the perfect timing when the Jets really bring their A game. You're right. I mean, they are playing like an elite team. An elite team plays like that on the second game of a back-to-back, right? A bad team kind of, has one good period, and then, as you mentioned, they don't get better. They get worse as the game progresses. So good for them with the flu bug going through the team. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Right now, they are playing like an elite team. They are an elite team.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that there's holes in the lineup, or there's areas on the roster that you'd like to see them augment or improve upon between now and the trade deadline, and that's probably something we'll discuss tomorrow on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, exactly 12 hours from now, 9 a.m. Central Time, back here on our YouTube channel. We'll get into that deeper tomorrow, but right now, the way they're playing, I mean, you can't take anything away from them. that game tonight, on the heels of a poor effort yesterday, an effort that Rick Bowness didn't like, an effort where everyone admitted that it was strictly the victory was strictly on the back of Connor Hellebuck. Well, you play like that tonight, it really doesn't matter who your goaltender is. David Riddick was definitely solid in net, but he wasn't
like how many saves did he have to make that were like grade A saves, like high danger? I haven't looked at the high danger chances. I'll take a quick look here, but I mean the high danger, they had 5 even strength high danger chances all game long, the Penguins.
Yeah.
And that's from a team that has been off since Tuesday, playing the Jets who played last night. So you're absolutely right, Drew. I mean, the Penguins should have no excuses. The Jets just outplayed them, plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean that's just it. It wasn't close. I mean the effort from the Penguins, and this is credit to the Jets as much as it is criticism of the Penguins. The effort level wasn't there, but the Jets just suffocated them. They didn't give. I mean, there were a couple of moments and some times where the Jets were a little scrambly in their own zone. Okay, hang on. Sorry, we have to wait. Smile and wave for Dark Moon. Hi, Dark Moon. We're smiling and waving. But the Jets.
We're obviously puppets, and he's our puppet master. He can just say that, and we'll do whatever he says, right?
Yeah. The Jets' effort though was top to bottom complete. I mean, if you're trying to criticize elements of the Jets game tonight, I'm not really sure where you're starting. I mean, sure, Dylan DeMello blows a tire and it looks a little bit of like a fish out of water on the Penguins tying goal that tied it at 1, but that's just human error. That's not anything that I would say is comprehensively a problem for the team. Right. Top to bottom, Dave, they were just absolutely in control of tonight's game.
Look, it's always interesting how we talk about narratives, right? Whether you start off quickly and then you get slower, well, you can say, well, we played last night. But the Jets started off right. And in fact, the Jets started every single period off right. And I said, it shouldn't be notable, but it's notable that every single period the Jets started off in a consistent fashion and an aggressive fashion and in a controlled fashion. And they were the better two of the two teams. Now, Pittsburgh hasn't played since Tuesday. And, that was a sloppy game, I believe, against the Canucks. But they were the heavy favorites coming into today's action, according to our friends over at Betway. Nice. But the truth is that it was the Jets who looked like the vastly better team. Mm-hmm. And I mean, look, you weren't sure, right? You weren't sure what you were going to get from Winnipeg, and you knew that Rick Bowness was going to want to have a better effort. And there were some moves made before the game. Jansen Harkins recalled from the American Hockey League because Morgan Barron, of course, still not ready to go, dealing with the illness. Cole Perfetti is also, they weren't sure. He only played 9 minutes in the game against Buffalo. So he was kind of a game time decision. So you had these situations. Yeah, of course. So you had these situations where you're not sure about the lineup. Ville Heinola had to be reassigned, of course, to make room to have that extra forward in Jansen Harkins. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, if you're the Jets, you have to feel very good, because you could say Pittsburgh had some rust in the first, but eventually they're going to work that rust out, and they're still a pretty good team. And yet they didn't look like they were in this game in any way, shape, or form. There were a couple of instances, but for the most part, the Jets really controlled this game, and it was an impressive one for a Jets team now that's won 7 of their last 8. I mean, it's funny that everybody lost their mind that they lost to Detroit, but that's the only loss the Jets have suffered in 8 games. And look, you're right, Drew. Some of the games the Jets haven't played well, and they've still won because they have the best goaltender in the NHL, or a top 3 goaltender in the NHL, if you want to quibble. But the reality, Ezzy, is that this wasn't a game that you needed. David Rittich was solid. You're right. But he didn't need to steal the game because the Jets controlled it from the start to the finish.
Absolutely. You have to be super disappointed if you're the Penguins, because you need these points, just as much as, the Red Wings or the Sabres do, right? Because those are the teams that are chasing you. And if I'm looking at that Eastern Conference right now, the Penguins are the team. If I'm the Sabres, I'm thinking that's the team we can catch. Obviously there's tons of hockey left, boys, but I don't know, that Penguins team. I mean, Chris Letang is a huge part of the team. And, Marcus Pettersson's another guy that was out of the lineup. I think he was just, if I'm not mistaken, he was just sick. I don't think Pettersson's out long-term, but Pettersson's a big defenseman. And I think you could, tell in this game, they couldn't handle the Jets offensively. They couldn't handle the speed. They couldn't handle the size. Yeah. And Dave and I were joking when Gary Galley was calling the Jets a big, mean team, right? Because the Jets, they have some size, but I don't think I would call the Jets a mean team. Obviously, Brendan Dillon, Adam
Lowry,
Lowry,
Dillon, Dubois.
They've got some big boys that can handle themselves. Don't get me wrong, but like this is not the 2018 Jets with Buff and Trouba and Ben Sherrod on the back end, right, Dave? So we were having a chuckle when the out of town media calls the Jets big and mean. But look.
But they've been calling, let me just interrupt for a second. They've been calling the Jets big and mean for the last 3 years when it was, just completely untrue. At least it's a little bit more true this year in that they definitely play a more physical style this year than they have the last couple of years.
They're scrappy. There's a difference between, scrappy or gritty and mean, right? Like when I think of mean, I think of, the Broad Street Bullies or, something like that. It's just funny. But yeah, you're right, Drew. You said
who's
it earlier.
A mean player or who was a mean player? When he, Evgeny Malkin, when he was at his peak, was a player who was always a little bit on the edge. He was sneaky in how he was dirty. You remember a number of years ago, the battles that him and Wheeler had. There was that game in Pittsburgh a number of years ago where Malkin, I think he went up high on Wheeler with a high hit, and those two really had some good battles. I mean, Evgeny Malkin, and we talked about this a little bit before we started tonight, looked like a shell of himself. Aside from smashing his stick against the glass on that failed power play, he really had no impact on the game for the Penguins. I mean, this Penguins team is definitely top heavy in Malkin and Crosby. And if you're looking for Malkin and Crosby to be the driving force on this team, well, neither of them are really that great tonight. I didn't think, I thought, Crosby was better than Malkin, but that doesn't mean much because Malkin was pretty bad.
I thought Brendan Dillon was doing a really good job on Malkin, and that's the type of defenseman that you need to be able to handle him physically, because you're absolutely right, Drew. When Malkin's at his best, he plays, it's a cliche, but he plays on the edge, right? Like he's physical. He's not, Eric Lindros, but he plays, he can throw the body around. He can be a guy, that'll slash you and stuff like that. But I thought, the perfect example of, Malkin just not having it tonight was when the Jets were on the power play. I forget it was the David Riddick, puck over the glass when the Penguins, I don't even know if they had a shot on that power play, boys, but Malkin, I mean, he was stationary. Mm-hmm. He just wasn't looking like a player that really cared. You just take those two guys off of this roster and it's just not a very good team. Well, right? I mentioned, Jake Gensel's a good hockey player. Brian Rust is a good hockey player. Kasperi Kapanen, but I mean, right now, if Crosby and Malkin aren't putting up the points, Malkin's been nearly a point a game player. And we know that Crosby is obviously over a point a game this year. So It's not like they're having bad seasons, but I mean, obviously Tristan Jarry is out of the lineup right now. He's been out of the lineup for about a week and a half. He was injured in the Winter Classic. So you're right, Drew. Dustin Tokarski is your third string goalie. Casey DeSmith is going to play tomorrow night against Carolina. So obviously that was the thought process. But as Dave mentioned, Tokarski came in against the Canucks. And he was good, right? He stopped like 18 of 20 shots or something like that. But this game is not on Dustin Tokarski. I mean, this was just the Penguins being outplayed badly at home.
Well, we did laugh about it before the show started. We talked about Tokarski being the starting goalie. We was like, what is this, the 2013 Spengler Cup? Because Dustin Tokarski, I mean, his career looked, the
definition of a journeyman, right, Drew?
Yeah, the fact he's still getting NHL games at this stage, I don't think anybody pegged that. So good for him. Good for him getting those NHL games at this stage of his career. But I don't think anybody's relying on Dustin Tokarski to be your savior when it comes to goaltending at this point in time. But you saw the lack of emotion coming out of Pittsburgh, and I know we're spending too much time talking about them. But after the fight between Brendan Dillon and Jason Zucker, and he's trying to rev up the crowd like as if he was like winning that battle against Brendan Dillon where he's holding on for dear life. It was all
that's what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure that Brendan Dillon, like if he wanted to, really could have thrown some haymakers. Yeah. And Jason Zucker he's not the biggest guy, right? But he's also kind of one of those scrappier players. Like he's a guy that he can handle himself. But, Brendan Dillon is a heavyweight. So I think that fight was maybe not the best choice for Zucker because I'm sure his knuckles will be iced after this game. Yeah, but it had zero impact on this game.
Yeah, and he's like throwing his arms up in the air. It was just odd. The whole tenor of the game from the Pittsburgh perspective was odd, but from the Jets perspective, Dave, this is exactly what you want. This is people on Twitter were saying it, and we were saying it, that this is probably your most complete effort of the year. It's certainly up there, going into a place that historically you haven't had a lot of success, and that's putting it mildly. on the second half of a back-to-back with a flu bug running through your team, with your backup goaltender in net, when you're so reliant on your starting goaltender typically, and you just absolutely go there and you school them, because that's what they did. So that flight home from Pittsburgh back to Winnipeg later tonight, assuming they're flying home tonight and not tomorrow morning. It's an off day tomorrow, we know, with the back-to-backs yesterday and tonight, and then Sunday evening against Arizona. There's certainly going to be a very happy plane ride for the Winnipeg Jets, deservingly so, going 2-1 here on the road trip.
Yeah, and that's, look, it didn't start off particularly well, and then you're thinking to yourself, okay, can you earn a split between Buffalo and Pittsburgh? Because it's going to be difficult to earn, 2 wins. And yet, What did the Jets do? They lost to the team that nobody anticipated them losing to, and instead beat the 2 teams. Well, Buffalo, they thought it could be a toss-up, and yet that game was a lot closer than this one, I would suggest. So I think it is one of those situations where if you're a Jets fan or if you're the Jets team itself, you're very happy right now, because you're, as you pointed out to start this segment, Drew, I mean, the reality is you're sitting there, you're battling for first with Dallas. The teams behind you are behind you, and you're adding more points to the standings bank. And you just have to be ecstatic with the fact that, I mean, guys, how good does that Ehlers, Connor, and Dubois line look right now? And remember, Perfetti, through illness right now, that's 5 assists in his last 3 games. Blake Wheeler is slowly kind of coming around, and Mark Scheifele is Mark Scheifele. So, I mean, if you can get both of those lines firing, contributions from the third line, contributions from the fourth line, the defense playing well and contributing. And remember, we've talked about a whole game. We haven't even mentioned the fact the Jets had 2 disallowed goals also in this game. So, I mean, like, really, it's a 4-1 Jets game. I joked on the second goal that the Jets scored. I said it was the second goal now the Jets have scored in this hockey game. But, I mean, think about it. We've just done this whole thing. We haven't even mentioned the Jets had 2. One that was a clear disallowed goal. The other that was a little tighter and a little bit more controversial. Not really hugely controversial, but whatever. And anyways, the point is that if you're a Jets club, you're very happy with the fact that you've banked, like I said, points in 7 of your last 8 games, and you're riding high right now.
Let's get into it with the Betway game recap here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's brought to you by Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly.
Boys, can we have the Keystone Cops music as we talk about the Jets' first goal? Because I feel like that's what was going through my head.
Probably not. It would be a violation of the YouTube copyright rules, so we probably can't have it playing.
We need to, or the Curb Your Enthusiasm music, like something, because I mean that puck was, I mean, were the Penguins playing pickleball on that goal? Like it was ridiculous. Like Blake Wheeler's standing there just whacking at the puck, and it was like he's like, I'm just gonna keep whacking at the puck till the puck goes in. You know what I mean? Like it was just, oh man, it was comical to watch the Penguins try to clear their zone there.
Well, then you've sort of you've buried the lead there, Mr. Ginsburg. Blake Wheeler opens the scoring at the 11:19 mark. It's a power play goal, his 10th of the season, assist to Cole Perfetti. And you're absolutely right. I mean, he's just, he's got body position and he's in front of the net. Tokarski is sort of off to the side, unable to or unwilling to get back into the play, and nobody is trying to tie up Blake Wheeler, or the effort that they're putting forth to tie up Blake Wheeler is not a really good effort. He has multiple opportunities to hack and whack and smack at the puck. And finally, after Tokarski made a really nice save initially there to keep the puck out, eventually he's able to get it in behind the Penguins goaltender to give the Jets the 1-0 lead halfway through the first period.
Yeah, and Drew, like I loved the puck movement. Like you had Cole Perfetti and Nate Schmidt there. Nate Schmidt made a nice quick pass to Neil Pionk, and we've talked about it. Like both Pionk and Morrissey are absolute veterans and pros when it comes to how they put the puck on the net, just from the point in general, but especially the power play, right? So Pionk has the bomb. There's the big rebound, as you mentioned, but then it's, I believe, Chad Ruhwedel and Ty Smith out there, and Wheeler gets in behind Chad Ruhwedel, but then the first whack doesn't go in, and then it's like, okay, I'm just going to whack the puck in. Like it was just an absolute comedy of errors, like just terrible boxing out by the Penguins. Like it was just like, protect the front of your net.
Yeah.
So I mean, good on Wheeler, but it was just kind of funny the way the puck was bouncing and bobbling and everything like that. So good power play, because the first power play unit, Dave, before that was getting some good looks, right? And then the second power play, comes out there and cleans up the garbage, so to speak. So nice rebound goal by Blake Wheeler, but like what an ugly goal.
Well, and the one thing I just want to jump in here and add to that is you like to see Nate Schmidt activated, and he didn't get an assist on the play, but I mean, it was the way he flew in from the court, not the corner. I guess he was between the dots. I mean, and he came in hard at the net and he forced the puck back in. So again, he must not have touched it, but he definitely impacted the play because it was his motion that pumped the puck over towards Perfetti, who got it over towards Wheeler. So you like to see that activation from Nate Schmidt, which of course led to that first goal. And it was a bit of a reward for a Jets team that was feeling, again, good start, but we've seen the Jets kind of have good starts and then not get that reward. But here's that, a little Pavlov dog, a little behavior modification, his first year psychology. And, you get your reward for scoring, for playing the right way by scoring.
Did you say
goals.
Pavlik's dog or Pavlov's dog?
I think Pavlik's dog is like one of the new chat things, as he
Actually,
so maybe.
I'm surprised we don't have a chatter whose username is Pavlik's dog. That seems like that would be a good name for somebody.
Maybe we've inspired them.
I think we should do a test, by the way. If you ring a bell from upstairs in your house, does Ginsburg come running up the stairs to get?
But I've done enough tests on him.
If there's food upstairs that I know of, then
now he just starts salivating. He just starts salivating, and then he runs to a little hamster cage I've built for him. He runs out the door and he starts like looking for the cheese.
I was at a store today. I'm not going to say where I was, obviously, because they're not a sponsor, but there was a Beethoven dog, like a St. Bernard. Yeah. And its name was Cujo. It was 210 pounds and it was only 10 months old.
On Friday the 13th, as you saw Cujo.
Yeah, actually, I didn't think about that. Friday the 13th. Yeah.
Remember.
Now, Ezzy, your sweatshirt is I actually like your sweatshirt. I like the color of your sweatshirt, but it's not a traditionally Ginsburg.
My favorite color.
Is it?
Orange is my favorite color. Yeah. This is every child matters.
Oh, okay. It's a good sweatshirt. Good cause, good sweatshirt. I like it. Every
child matters.
Okay, I liked it. I thought it was I couldn't see what was the logo or anything.
And it's a zip up. I only wear zip ups.
Yeah, I like it.
Love the zip ups. I mean, nothing against the regular hoodies that Dave M is wearing the Betway hoodie, which obviously we appreciate Betway hooking us up, but just love the zip up.
Okay, well, I like it. I appreciate it. Good hoodie. Wanted to ask about it, but job well done there.
I've worn it before on the show, I think.
You probably have. I just have a poor short-term memory, so I wasn't really paying that much attention to it either. But it's a good.
Drew, I'll put my poor short-term memory against your short-term memory any day of the week.
Fair enough. I can accept that as well. So
did we cover the first goal yet?
Yeah, we did. We did.
I like that you answered him. That's amazing. Well done, Ez.
Once in a while, Dave, I throw some darts out there. Some of them stick.
That was a good one. Penguins tie it up. It's about 5 minutes later, 5 minutes and 23 seconds later. My namesake, Drew O'Connor, his second of the year for the Penguins, assist to Kasperi Kapanen and Jan Ruda. This is just you saw what happened here with Dylan DeMello getting loses the stick and then he's trying to get back into it, and it's just all sorts of ugly up and down the ice for the Winnipeg Jets here, and it ends with O'Connor beating Dave Riddick to tie the game at 1 at that point in time.
Yeah, and that's a bit of an unfortunate situation because the Jets actually have control in the Penguins end, and Adam Lowry tries to get a puck over across, hits a skate, and Josh Morrissey was going the other way, and so he's going full steam ahead. The puck's going back out the Jets towards the Jets end. Penguins get the advantage because, as you said, O'Connor and Kapanen, they take off and they grab the puck. And DeMello, he tries to play it the right way. Dylan DeMello, sorry boys, as I labeled him earlier, he's an offensive defenseman. He can't be thinking about playing defense. That's not his bag. He's got 12 assists in 39 games. He has as many assists as he had in 76 last year. So Dylan DeMello, he can't be worried about playing defense for the Winnipeg Jets. But in his defense, a little bit of an unfortunate one, drops his stick, falls down, and it's a nice, like you said, Drew, it's a bit of a comedy of errors, and it ends up in the back of the net. And if you're the Jets, you're feeling a little burned because you've been playing pretty well, and now suddenly it's a 1-1 game.
Yeah, Exactly. Now, this next sequence, I think, is a bit of a key moment in the game. So it's the disallowed Wheeler goal. We don't really need to get into the disallowed Scheifele goal because that was clear he was offside.
The only thing I will say though, and it's a credit to these video goal coaches,
Yeah.
the video coaches, because like the fact that they can just that quickly have, because that was like they called it quick. I don't even know if maybe the team knew right away and they didn't even wait for him because it was very quick how quickly they had already challenged that thing. Anyways, go on.
So this one, the Wheeler one. So, the Jets, the goal's immediately waved off for goaltender interference, and the Jets elect to challenge it. They fail on the challenge, and then they get called for a penalty for a delay of game for the unsuccessful challenge. So first of all, let's do it in sort of two different phases. Do you agree with the call that it's goaltender interference, no goal for the Winnipeg Jets? I'll start with you, Ezra.
Yeah, I mean, I guess based on the way goalie interference is called. By the way, why does the NHL, when they defend their call, just put out the definition of the rule as if you know what I mean? As if
the explanation from the situation room is just them copying and pasting the rule and saying this is why it didn't count.
Yeah, everybody, nobody. It's not like anybody sees that and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, now we get it, right? My opinion would be if I was someone who hadn't watched a lot of hockey and seen a lot of bizarre goalie interference calls, I'd probably say that wasn't goalie interference. But the way the NHL, honestly, when the NHL reviews a potential goalie interference call, I in my head, I'm flipping a coin, which way it could go, honestly, unless it's really obvious. So yeah, I kind of, I was it really goalie interference? It was in that gray area. But the way the NHL calls it nowadays, I just think it's so unclear to everyone what goalie interference really is.
Well, I agree with everything you just said there. To me, what was bizarre, I mean, our media colleagues, our media friends that were on site in Pittsburgh all thought that it wasn't goalie interference, which far be it from me to disagree with them, but I'm going to disagree with them on this one. I thought it was goalie interference. I thought Dubois goes in on his own, and there's just enough of him in the blue paint that I can see how it impacts Tokarski, that he's not able to really get his full range of motion. And it's not that Dubois was forced in there. He went there on his own. I didn't have a problem with this one being called goaltender interference. To be perfectly honest, I didn't even think it was that it was really in doubt. I was sort of surprised that Rick Bowness went with the challenge on this one, Dave, because to me, because
they waved it off right away.
He waved it off right away.
That's the difference. Usually, if it's not called right away, I mean, just common sense is that, maybe there's more of a reason to challenge it, right? Like Matt Prefontaine is the video coach for the Jets. He's the one that, signals to the Jets bench. And we just had Spency's comment up there. Dubois clearly blocks Tokarski's path. But to me, it's not egregious. It's kind of almost like borderline incidental contact. So again, by the definition of goalie interference, Dave, it is goalie interference. But really, we've seen so many times that, based on the definition, it's incidental contact or it's not that bad. I don't know. I mean, I guess, the Jets ended up winning the games, but who really cares? But at the time, you could see the frustration on the Jets bench that call wasn't overturned, right, Dave?
I think what it comes down to is the inconsistency. I don't think if you watch that play, you're sitting there going, you're ripping your hair out and you're swearing and you're beyond pissed off that goal is disallowed, because it's kind of, as you said, as it's in that gray. I think where people get upset is that the NHL is so inconsistent. And, folks in the chat I'm seeing, and I would agree, referencing the Connor Hellebuck play where he gets his helmet knocked off and they still somehow score. And that
still bothers me. And I'm sure that still bothers a lot of people because that goal should have never counted. I'm sorry.
Well, of course. And I think that's why the folks are bringing it up. And I would agree with that assessment. And that's why
Jamie Benn, right?
Well, yeah.
Was it Ben or was it Jason Robertson? I forget.
No, it was Robertson. No, Ben was the one who knocked the helmet off.
Ben knocked it off. You're right.
And then Ben, but Ben then got it to Seguin.
Yeah.
There was one other guy. Who else touched it? It wasn't just Ben to Seguin to Robertson. It was Ben.
Maybe Rupe Hintz.
No, maybe it was just Ben behind the net.
There's been a lot of games.
No, it was Ben to Seguin. Seguin put it back to Robertson, and then Robertson. I thought it might have been. I know what's his name. Who's the other veteran? Didn't Pavelski touch it too? I think Pavelski might have touched it as well. I think they actually had like 3 guys touch the puck.
I feel like there could be an E60 on that goal.
Yeah. anyways, let's just go back to, so I think where folks are bothered, not by that play itself. I think it's the inconsistency in the NHL's rule call. And I think that's where they have a problem with goalie interference, because it's a subjective decision, right? It's not like, some things can be a little bit more black and white. That's a fairly, you can sit there and you go, well, did he? And my suspicion would have been, if the puck was not off of Dubois and into the net, maybe they allow it. But if it just goes over to Karski, the other side, but because it went right where Dubois was and he's in the net, maybe, or in the crease, sorry, you could rule it. Again, like I said, not one that you're sitting there going, like, if you watch the Jets bench, it's not as if they were losing their minds over that goal being disallowed. And you can kind of take from a team's reaction, I think, how they really feel about something. If a guy doesn't lose their mind, if a team doesn't lose their mind, then you can tell, okay, we wanted that goal. We would have taken that goal, but we know that it was kind of in that gray area. The one that I always find funny, though, is that if it is considered goalie interference, shouldn't it be a penalty? Wow. Obviously, I understand the reason, the distinction. I'm just being a bit of a shot disturber there. But I will say, like I said, I think the biggest concern for Jets fans is the lack of consistency from the NHL when it comes to these types of calls.
Look, no question that the lack of consistency is an issue. But, the Jets, I think, to their credit here, look, Rick Bowness decides to challenge it, and he loses the challenge, and he figured, might be worth it 50-50 coin flip, given the inconsistency, of the reviews. But then on the ensuing power play that the Penguins get, the Jets do a great job killing it off. Because boy, wouldn't have that been a really sour taste in your mouth to end the first period if not only do you have 2 goals disallowed in the period, but then you give up a goal on the ensuing power play, and all of a sudden you're trailing after 20 minutes instead of being tied after 20 minutes. So I thought that was really a really important kill for the Winnipeg Jets in order to keep the confidence and keep the good vibes after they played a very strong first 20 minutes on the road in the second half of a back-to-back.
Shout out to Dom Zappia for bringing up it seems like every few weeks this is brought up, but the James Neal, there you go. James Neal knocking Hellebuck's mask off in Vegas. I remember that. I want to say that was 3 years ago. Yeah. I mean, it couldn't have been much more than 3 years ago. It was either 3 or 4 years ago, right? And it was like we were all watching that game. I'm not sure, Drew, if you were with us in the press box that night, but I remember sitting beside Dave and we were like, what the hell is going on? Like, how is that goal counted?
Well, he two-handed him.
Exactly.
He lumberjack chopped him, and all of a sudden that goal still counted, which of course it didn't make any sense. It was a ridiculous blown call by the officials back then, and there's been a number of them that everyone can recognize and remember very, very well. There you go. Craig Penner on Facebook is saying it was 2017-18 when the two-hand heard around the world occurred in the goal.
Golden Knights first season. Yeah, it's kind of what set the tone for, everything that happened in that Western Conference final. But yeah, like it's sometimes you have to just laugh at this stuff, right? Because it's like, in what bizarro world could you allow that goal? Anyways, let's get into the Jets' second goal.
It's 1-1 for the majority of the second period. And then towards the end of the period, another good period by the Jets. They go Dennis Bayak on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Mark Scheifele, his 25th of the season, assist to Blake Wheeler and Cole Perfetti. And this is just beautiful playing there by the Winnipeg Jets, and great patience by Blake Wheeler and great job by Mark Scheifele to just shed the check just enough to get his stick free. And Wheeler just tees it up for him, just outside the blue paint. And he makes no mistake in putting it behind Tokarski to give the Jets the 2-1 lead late in the second period, as he.
Yeah, and this is kind of like almost what we've been expecting out of this line, right? Because obviously Wheeler and Perfetti, this is only their 4th or 5th game back, right? But yeah, this is just beautiful passing, and Wheeler, I think it was Drew O'Connor, right? We talked about he got the first goal, but it was Drew O'Connor on Blake Wheeler, and Blake Wheeler just is very patient with the puck, and just outweights him, and Scheifele comes in there and just again, it wasn't very good coverage by the Penguins, but Scheifele just goes to where he needs to go, and it was on display there. Like, that was just a perfectly executed play by Scheifele, Perfetti, and Wheeler there. And the Penguins were I just thought that so many parts of this game, the Penguins just were either caught flat-footed, they just seemed slower than the Jets. And on this play, again, that line just absolutely chewed that Penguins defense up, Dave.
Well, and you know what? The one thing you wanted to, again, take note of is the fact that the Jets didn't let off the gas. I mean, they played exceptionally well, even though the game was tight. They were up at 25-11, I think, at one point in terms of the shots. And so, you're impressed by, I think you'd have to be impressed by the fact that that's when you kind of expected Pittsburgh. Okay, fine. They had some rust. I like the joke by Spencer saying that didn't Rust play all game? He did, but they had a little rust in their game, of course, was throughout the course. But you expect it to get shed in that second period, especially given the fact that they had power plays, right? So that could have given them some momentum, and yet the Jets used it, reversed the course a little bit, and then they managed to, build off of their PK, which continues to improve, game after game after game, and has become such a boon for this hockey club. And yet they don't give up that goal. And sure enough, what do they end up doing? Like you said, Drew, or like you said, as they get rewarded, they score the goal, and suddenly now you're feeling good about them. They're feeling good about themselves because they've been playing so well, and again because they're now rewarded with it. And Mark Scheifele, what was that? His 25th goal of the season. So he's feeling good about himself because he's a goal scorer. He wants to kind of keep up his Cy Young like numbers, right, Ezzy? And again, that's what you need is you want those two lines to be buzzing, and if those two lines are buzzing, well, I mean, it's only going to be good for this Jets club.
Sorry, I was just going to say one quick thing, Drew, before we get to the next goal here. Like we mentioned, the pass by Wheeler, nice pass by Perfetti to Wheeler, but I forget who the defenseman was. I was just trying to watch the replay; it wasn't loading, but it was either Brian Dumoulin, it might have been Chad Ruedel in front of the net. But Scheifele battles, like he pushes him, he kind of out muscles him.
He wants
it
more.
Like to see
That's
from
just
Scheifele,
effort.
right? Exactly. So it's a beautiful passing play, but like Drew said earlier, the Jets just put in a better effort. Like, yes, they executed, they scored on the power play, but there were only a couple power plays for each team in this game. This was a game that was controlled at even strength by the Jets. So you got to love what you saw from Scheifele tonight.
And just to quickly jump on Ezzy's point and add to it, which there's not much to add, but I do like the fact that Scheifele made him think that he was going deep and then curled it back and then went right to the net. I mean, it's a goal scorer's play. It's a smart play by Mark Scheifele, a guy who has a nose to the net, and he scores his 25th goal, and he's feeling good about himself.
It was a lot of intelligence on display there by three very smart hockey players in Wheeler, Perfetti, and Scheifele. Because Scheifele, and Perfetti, again, they're students of the game. Wheeler's obviously got the veteran guile who knows what he's doing, and obviously Scheifele's no spring chicken anymore either, even though he's still young in chronological years, but he's a veteran when it comes to his on ice performance. 22 seconds later, you talk about being a backbreaker for the Pittsburgh Penguins. This one is really the backbreaker. It takes 22 seconds for the Jets to expand the lead to a 2-goal lead. Nikolai Ehlers, his third of the season. How good has he been since he came back? I mean, how you can use all the hyperbole in the world to talk about the Ehlers, Connor, and Dubois line, but it's deserving because they've just been that dominant, so far put together. Ehlers, his third assist to Connor and Dylan DeMello. Another, as Dave mentioned, DeMello's turning into an offensive juggernaut himself, getting 2 assists tonight. But, this doesn't look like there's a play here. This looks pretty simple, but Nikolai Ehlers does not need a lot of time and a lot of space with his speed to put himself into a scoring opportunity. And the Penguins defenseman here is just maybe a step, if that, out of position, just a little bit too far away from Ehlers, and Ehlers just makes him pay, rifling the shot with a beauty of a shot past Tokarski after a nice play by DeMello and a nice play by Connor to get it over to Ehlers coming down on the wing to give the Jets the 3-1 lead before the second period is up, Ezzy.
Yeah, I don't remember. I apologize. I was kind of going back and forth with the kids going to bed. I forget who the defenseman who was paired up with. It was Brian Dumoulin, I think, was out there, but he wasn't the defenseman. Who was playing with Dumoulin, Dave? Whoever the defenseman was on the right side, as Drew mentioned there, he was just too slow. Like he just didn't react to Ehlers getting that pass coming with speed, right? So the Penguins, like you mentioned, Drew, it wasn't like an odd man rush or anything like that.
It's Ty Smith. Ty Smith was
there. You go, Ty Smith, former Devil. I should know that.
Yeah, seriously.
So he was paired up with Dumoulin.
You're going to lose your Devil fandom card.
Yeah, well, I actually thought that was a good trade for the Devils. John Marino is a good defenseman, but Ty Smith. Because before that sequence happened, Ty Smith, if you remember, he cleared the puck to the neutral zone, just gave the puck back to the Jets. Yeah. Jets brought the puck back in. And, that's a mismatch. Like Ehlers comes in with speed there, and he basically just walks around Ty Smith. So again, like beauty pass. It was Kyle Connor, right? Or was it Dubois? I forget who it was.
Connor.
I think it was Connor. Yeah. Just a nice little pass from Connor to Ehlers. And again, Ty Smith, he just loses track of Ehlers, and Ehlers takes it, and it's a really nice shot that really Dustin Tokarski had no chance. But I agree with you, Drew, talking about how well Ehlers has been, especially since he's returned from injury, let alone since he's entered the NHL. But he's making it look effortless, and you can tell he's having a great time out there. But that's what stood out to me. Like, Ehlers does not look like a guy who missed nearly 3 months of action, however many games that was, 30 plus games. He just looks like he's in mid-season form.
Yeah, he really does. And when he's on his game, and he is on his game, you can't. It's so difficult to shut down that line, and that line wasn't as dominant as it has been the last few games tonight. I thought that
last night they were dominant.
Last night they were dominant. I mean, tonight they were good.
They were good against Detroit too.
Yeah, then because their worst game is still going to be pretty good. And that tells you when you're dealing with a superlative line, and that's exactly what they are. And it's hard to have any answer for that, because Pierre-Luc Dubois goes wrecking ball on you, Nikolai Ehlers goes a speed demon on you, and Kyle Connor goes magician on you. It's like it's got something for everybody. That
pick your poison.
Does. Yeah, it's got something for everyone, and the Penguins had no answer for it. And after 40 minutes, it's 3-0 for the Winnipeg. 3-1 for the Winnipeg Jets, and they've outshot Pittsburgh 29-16. And I know shots aren't the be all and end all when it comes to stats, and sometimes you're a team that's going to win the game is going to get outshot. But this was indicative of the flow of the play. This was indicative of the course of the action. I mean, you look at the possession numbers in tonight's game, and they were dominated by the Winnipeg Jets. In the second period alone, 64% possession numbers for the Winnipeg Jets against 36% for the Penguins. That's one-sided, guys.
Yep.
I don't need to tell you guys that.
Honestly, Drew, when I looked at it, I thought it was going to be something like 75 or 80%. Like, it was that second period was clearly their best period. And as you mentioned earlier, you were expecting kind of the pushback from the Penguins, and you were expecting the Jets to have you were expecting their play to sag a little bit, and it didn't. It was the opposite. So again, I mean, look, the Jets didn't win the Stanley Cup tonight, but I mean, that's something that this is one of those wins that it could have easily, they could have lost this game, second game of a back-to-back against a team in the Penguins who, without Letang, without Jeff Petrie, we talked about it, they need to maintain their wild card spot, right? Like, there was every reason to think that, the Jets were the underdog going into this game. Yeah, and now you go home, and you got Arizona, and the only way they're going to lose to Arizona is if Karel Vejmelka stands on his head and makes 40 saves, and because that Coyotes team is just brutal.
Well, and I just want to make the comment, like I think it was T. Will. No, it wasn't T. Will. Sorry, it was someone just before T. Will. But and I should know since I highlighted these comments. But it's amazing that Nikolai Ehlers could still hit 20 goals this season, and he missed as much time as he has. So I mean, he's just having already, and it's only 4 games, and you can throw away that first game against Tampa with he didn't get any points because of course he hadn't played in so long. But it didn't take long for him to show that he was ready to get back into Nikolai Ehlers' form, and he looks good. That line looks deadly for the reasons Drew's outlined. And if Perfetti, Scheifele, and Wheeler are going, and you've got something going with the Lowry line, and you hope that Morgan Barron will be healthy by Sunday, because I thought he was playing some excellent hockey on this road trip. So if you got Morgan Barron going with Lowry and player X, and then you have whoever your fourth line configuration ends up being.
I like Kuhlman on that line, Dave.
On the third line, yeah, I mean, he just can't finish those chances. Unfortunately, that's the problem.
If he had raised the puck on that one chance, was that in the third period, early in the third period?
Yeah.
When Tokarski lost his stick, and that's what I wanted to talk about to start the third period. Sorry, Dave, I'm jumping on your point there. Okay. Is that so the Jets are up 3-1 after 40 minutes, and you're like, okay, what's going to happen to start the third? They're going to be a push by the Penguins. Are they going to try and get back into it? Are they going to try and really lean on the Jets second half of a back-to-back, blah blah blah? In those first early minutes of the third period, it was the complete opposite. The
Right.
Jets were the team leaning on the Penguins. I mean, frankly, the Jets should have scored in the first 2 minutes of the third period, given some of the opportunities that they had. If Kuhlman, as you referenced there, if he's just able to raise the puck a little bit there with Tokarski, flopping around, doesn't have a stick. The Jets had the zone time, for a significant period of time there to start the third period. It was almost 4-1 at that point in time, and the Penguins were just they had a no-show from the majority of the game, but they also had it in the third period where you would expect there to be a push from them to get back into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll jump in. I thought Dave was going to jump in, but he was having a little cough there. He was muted, but I could hear his cough because he's upstairs and I'm downstairs. So I hope you have a little water there, Dave M. But again, not to pick on Ty Smith again, but he just loses Scheifele there. You watch the replay of that goal. How is Mark Scheifele, who's on pace for 50 goals, how do you leave him alone like that? And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of going bad for the Penguins on this play. They were just discombobulated. They couldn't get the puck. They couldn't get control of the puck. But Scheifele is just left alone. And, if you leave him alone like that, he's going to score. And it was a nice pass over to Scheifele by DeMello, who we've talked about is, challenging Josh Morrissey for the Norris Trophy right now. So, no, but I mean, it's just, I'm sitting here watching that going did anybody realize that Mark Scheifele was standing there? Just, you know what I mean? It was just, as you mentioned, Drew, you're expecting this big pushback. The Penguins have played like crap through 40 minutes and they come out with that type of effort and they deserve to get scored on.
Well, Dave, but all the credit for that goal. I mean, Cole Perfetti is basically 1-on-3 in this instance. He gains the zone, and again, it doesn't look like there's going to be a significant play there. It's a good job by Perfetti to get a clean zone entry, but he's outnumbered by the Penguins. He's out. There's at least 2 Penguins around him, and he just wins the puck battle. He just has more fight and more desire on this play than the Penguins do. I mean, that's just what you see here. He just wants it more. It gets it back to DeMello at the point, and then DeMello hits it to Scheifele. And Scheifele, I mean, look, not just time and space. In the NHL, time and space usually doesn't mean that much time or that much space. It's all relative when it comes to
time to make it. My dad always used to say that. He had enough time to make a sandwich there.
Yeah, he had more than enough time to make a sandwich. He had enough time to make me a sandwich and himself a sandwich, and he just puts it into the empty net. And you look at the replay. Half the Penguins are on the other side of the sheet of ice. They're, if you take the ice and you cut it in half, they're on the other half of it, and you just leave Mark Scheifele unaccosted and all alone. He's like, okay, I'll just one-time this puck into this wide open net. I have 26 goals on the season. I'm pretty good at doing this. Thanks very much for not covering me, and it's 4-1 for the Jets.
You make a good point. Sorry, Dave. Just want to quickly say Cole Perfetti does a great job coming up with that puck with 3 Penguins around him, getting it back to DeMello. So you're absolutely right. Perfetti deserves a ton of credit for the work that he did that led to that goal. But sorry, I just can't. Again, I just watched the replay again. I can't believe that Scheifele was that wide open.
Well, according to Kenny's water bottle saying Jets were painting on a canvas with acrylic paint. The Penguins were using crayons and coloring by numbers. Appropriate given that it's called PPG Paint Arena, right, boys? So nice one by Kenny's water bottle over there.
Are you guys coordinating your jokes before the post-game show? Are you guys working together in collaboration?
I sent him a little. I'm like, hey, Kenny, this is the angle I think we're going to take tonight. So maybe I'm going to feed you one. You throw me something like this.
We do a read-through, Dave, right? That's what we do. We do a little bit of a read-through, and we put the jokes out there, and some of them aren't very good.
The Illegal Curve Hockey Show is simply performative art. This is not actually this is all very scripted.
Well, certainly not science.
Definitely not. So anyway, look, again, what a bounce back game for Cole Perfetti. And I say bounce back because he was sick yesterday, limited to the amount of time he was able to play. And yet he still was able to perform at a high level tonight. And you could see, right? You knew he didn't want to come out of the lineup. You know that he missed those games. I mean, he's not that far off he only missed, how many games did he miss? 4 or 5 games, but he's not that far back from the rookie scoring lead, right? He's in 3rd place.
Oh, he's absolutely in the Calder discussion right now.
Yeah,
Matty Beniers is obviously, in
first with 40. I think he has 34 points, and Mason McTavish has 20.
Halfway through the season,
6. So I mean,
lots of time for Perfetti to close the gap.
Perfetti's at 24
points a game.
Yeah, well, 24, 25, whatever he's at. So I mean, Perfetti's right there, and look, what did we say? We said that Cole Perfetti is going to be able to adjust and play on the line with Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele. He can't be a passenger. He has to be a guy who's a facilitator, an occasional goal scorer, but he's going to set those guys up. Now, Wheeler, of course, is a passer too, but that should, and there's a reason why Mark Scheifele has 26 goals, right? So that's what you're going to expect from Cole Perfetti. It's one of the things I said, we saw it in his first full season in the AHL when he adjusted, stopped being a perimeter player and went to the middle. And you're seeing it now in the NHL as he's slowly getting more comfortable in the NHL and slowly adjusting to like life in the NHL. And, now again, like I said, when we saw him skating the other day, we're like, he just seemed off. He just didn't have it. It's amazing because we're not talking a huge, time difference between yesterday and today. And yet, sure enough, he's playing so much better. So anyways, it was a real nice play by him. And you're right, Ezzy. I mean, it's an embarrassing defensive effort by the Penguins. And Mark Scheifele, how many times have we seen Mark Scheifele score that goal? It seems like he always scores that goal against the Anaheim Ducks. I can think of like 4 pictures that Colby Spence, our photographer here at Illegal Curve, has taken of Mark Scheifele taking that shot and scoring into the empty net. Usually there's goaltender, blocking. Usually there's a defenseman trying to get across. Not in this instance. So that was basically, I jokingly said with Seth Rohrabaugh, who's a writer for the Penguins, I said, are there going to be any empty net goals? And he said, well, with a backup goaltender and a third string goaltender, there may be some opportunities. And I said, well, so we joked before the game. Well, clearly that was as close to an empty netter with a goaltender in it as you're ever going to see.
How much do you guys want to bet, Betway being the title sponsor of the show, how much do you guys want to bet that Ron Hextall is going to give up something ridiculous for a defenseman before the trade deadline?
Well, I mean, if he thinks this team is going, that Penguins team is going anywhere, and I know you sort of always have to be a buyer if you have Crosby and Malkin, because what's the point of having them if you're not, trying to squeeze the last little bit of life out of their careers? But I mean, the way they're constructed, it's a top
just make the trade for Jacob Chychrun right now, Drew. Just do it.
You think that? I
think that I'm being sarcastic, obviously, right, but I feel like that's the type of move. Because you're right. As long as when you re-sign Malkin and Letang, and you've got Crosby there, you're always going to be a team that is trying to make the playoffs, right? Like, so It's just, I feel like I was obviously joking, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Penguins think that they're buyers and act like buyers when, if the Penguins end up slipping into the playoffs and they end up playing Boston, like, is anybody going to pick the Penguins over the Bruins?
No, not the Penguins team that we saw tonight. That's for sure. It would be over in 3. Never mind 4. It would be over in 3 based on that performance tonight. But the Jets will take advantage of it. The Jets will say thank you very much. The Jets will gladly finish the road trip with a record of 2 wins and 1 loss to improve on the season now to a tie for first in the Central Division, 28-14-1, tied with the Dallas Stars with 57 points, 7 points clear of the Minnesota Wild, who are in 3rd place. And then it's even further down if you want to go to the next Central Division team after that is the St. Louis Blues, 12 points behind the Winnipeg Jets at this point in the season. I don't think anybody would have thought that. When we come back here on the Illegal Curve post-game show, contest time, we'll read some of the post-game quotes coming out of the Jets dressing room, and of course a preview of Saturday's Illegal Curve hockey show and an update on what happened at the Moose and Marlies game in Toronto. The game suspended due to a medical emergency in the stands. We'll give a quick update on what we know regarding that. Don't go anywhere. It's a Friday night. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. We're live. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. The Jets victorious 4-1 over Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh tonight.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40, you're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. 10 minutes before the top of the hour, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you on this Friday night. A reminder, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., less than 12 hours from now, it'll be the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Back here on this fine YouTube channel, we'll delve deeper into the Winnipeg Jets. We'll look ahead, of course, to the trade deadline. Jeff Hamilton of the Winnipeg Free Press is going to join us. Sean Shapiro is going to join us. He wrote a really interesting article recently about Rick Bowness, so we'll talk to Sean about that. You can check that out. Of course, a link to that is on Sean's Twitter feed, as well at Sean Shapiro, SEAN Shapiro.
Sean used to cover the Stars for The Athletic, and then he became their business writer.
Yeah.
He's based in Michigan, so he's covering the Red Wings right now. So we'll have a lot of teams to talk to him about. We can talk Jets, Red Wings, Stars, NHL in general. Sean's a great guy, so it's going to be fun to have him on.
Yeah, it'll be a fun show tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Set your reminder now to join us tomorrow at 9 a.m. And then again, Sunday evening, 8:45 p.m., the Illegal Curve post-game show after the Jets and the Coyotes. So for those of you keeping track at home, that means Thursday night post-game show, Friday night post-game show, Saturday morning Illegal Curve hockey show, Sunday night post-game show, and Monday morning divorce proceedings will begin by our respective partners as they're sick and tired of us doing this night in and night out. Some comments from the Winnipeg Jets dressing room after tonight's game. These are courtesy of our buddy Mike McIntyre, who is on the trip, talking with Cole Perfetti about how sick he was last night in Buffalo. Again, Perfetti getting 3 assists tonight versus Pittsburgh. He bounces back a lot quicker than I do. Quote, kind of got the fever, chills, and then lots of trips to the bathroom puking. The worst I've felt since I can remember. This is lesson number 472 as to why pro athletes are different than I am, because I would be in bed for a good solid 2 to 3 weeks complaining about this.
Exactly. I mean, that's just, I mean, you know this, Drew. We've been doing the show for how long and watching sports for how long and being around athletes, right? Like, these are elite athletes, like they're warriors, right? Like Perfetti, these guys are machines.
They're just they just have they're just a little insane. I mean, I say this with respect, but they just have a little bit of insanity that goes through them that gets them to this point. The drive and the intestinal fortitude. And I know it's a bit of
it's like never quit attitude, right? It's like it doesn't matter. I'm puking, like I'm dying, but we have a hockey game, so we have to play.
Yeah, I throw up. I'm using that as an excuse not to do anything for a good solid 6 to 8 weeks. I'm on the injured reserve for 6 to 8 weeks, no matter why I'm throwing up. That's it.
Well, for the record, before COVID, I would still go to hockey games to cover the hockey game, not to play in a hockey game.
Yeah.
While sick as a dog, but now with COVID, I feel less inclined to show up at the rink while I'm not feeling my best, which thankfully hasn't been very often.
I actually wasn't going to do the post-game show tonight, boys. I had a really bad hangnail. I was like, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, right? I was going to text you guys, but I just decided to, push through it.
You couldn't use your finger because you had the hangnail.
That's right. The hangnail couldn't, we appreciate you fighting through that, Ezra. You truly are the hero among heroes today on the Illegal Curve post-game show. More from Mike McIntyre, this courtesy of Rick Bonus. Quote, give the players full marks for playing the way we did. That was probably one of the best games we played all year. It really was, in terms of how we wanted to play and how to be successful going forward. There were no passengers tonight. And he's right, because if the Jets play like that, as we certainly have seen so far this year, and there's no reason to think it's going to change, you play like this, you're going to win the majority of your games, and you're going to be a very serious playoff contender to come out of the Western Conference come season's end. This is exactly how you need to play and how you want to play, and this Winnipeg Jets team really does look the road trip wasn't the prettiest, but to end it with this effort, well, that's a very pretty way to end the road trip, gentlemen.
I would agree with that. And you can see, like we mentioned earlier, how much fun like Ehlers is having out there, and like this is a team right now, right? Like these guys are now almost fully healthy, right? Like there's a few guys, Mason Appleton, Logan Stanley, Saku Manalainen is back in the lineup, but we thought he might, maybe take a little bit longer, but like they're getting very close to full health, right? Like Dave has been documenting it on a daily basis. Like at one point there were eight or nine guys out of the lineup. So, but right now, I mean, we talked about the top six, like the top six, just like write that in stone. Like they're not Scheifele, Perfetti, Wheeler, and Connor Dubois and Ehlers. Like that's not changing anytime soon, unless circumstances dictate that. But like the third and fourth lines right now are obviously in flux, right? But I mean, this is a very talented team, and you can see like they're, even though you don't like the Red Wings loss, obviously, and the Buffalo game was very far from perfect, but this game was what I think, like the template that they were playing earlier in the season, and you like how structured you were defensively and all that stuff, right? So I agree with you. I mean, right now, or certainly after this game and the way they're playing at points on that homestand, especially against Vancouver. I mean, they just completely dominated Vancouver, even though they allowed 4 goals. So I think, everything is trending in the right direction for this Jets team. You're going to have some, tough games coming up, but I think of the 9 games left in the month of January before they have that 12-day break, I think only 2 of those games are against teams in the playoff spot, right? So it's not a hard schedule coming up.
No, it's not. The hardest part about the schedule for the rest of the month is the number of games, but the actual opponents that they're facing. I mean, they play Toronto. That would be a challenging game. But I'm trying to think, aside from Toronto,
they only have one back-to-back.
They have the one back-to-back against Ottawa and Philly. That's next Saturday, Sunday. But
no iPads would be hurt in the creation of those hockey games.
Yeah, no iPads would be hurt. Don't worry. John Tortorella has banned the iPad. That is the root of all.
Although it was funny, actually, it's actually rather humorous because Rick Bonus actually was complaining about iPads on the bench like 4 or 5 days ago, and like basically saying like he doesn't like to see the team, and he was asked about it actually today I think our friend Sean Reynolds asked him in advance of the hockey game, and you could see that he kind of had a bit of a smirk, because he was probably of similar mind to John Tortorella. He said, look, if you're Sidney Crosby, you can look at the iPad. It's all good. Other players, maybe not so much. And it is true. It is. You do watch how guys aren't paying attention to what's happening on the ice because they're watching that. So it's interesting to hear.
Torts has lost it, Dave. Like, what's next? Is he going to ban BioSteel from the bench?
The reality as he is that
no more smelling salts.
Ever since that you and him had your beef, he's just gone like this. His coaching career, everything, his arc has just diminished.
I wish.
It's diminished after he knew he tried to take on.
Actually, when my second cousin Matt Leibel went in there, because he's like, okay, Ez went in there the first year, we know what happened. But then, if you guys remember, it was the PR guy. I forget his name for the Rangers. He might still be the PR guy. He was Torts' handler essentially, right? He was always like right beside Torts. Mm-hmm. But Matt Leibel came down and he asked Torts, if you guys remember, of course you guys remember, if he heard all the boos, and then the Rangers PR guy shut that down. So it was actually Leibel, I think, that actually got under Torts' skin more than I did.
Yeah, and then and then they called to complain about the very reasonable question, because God forbid that God forbid that anyone in the NHL ever show some personality or be asked a legitimate question that.
Yeah, didn't they contact Chris Brook at TSN 1290? They're like, "Is that the type of questions that your employees ask?" It's like, he asked a perfectly legitimate question that everybody was thinking about.
That's right. That everybody was thinking about, that all the New York journalists led with that, but none of them wanted to ask the question. Yet they called to complain about the fact that somebody asked the question that all the journalists led with. It's like, we're through the looking glass here, people. But in any event, we've as we always
now I
do
remember
on the
his
show,
name, Sean Spicer.
Yeah, Sean Spicer.
Well done, Ez. You're on fire right now.
As he's brought his aid game tonight.
Yeah, I'm channeling my inner Cole Perfetti right now, boys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly right. But to your point about the Jets' schedule, from now until the end of the month, and then they get that 2-week break, they play one team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's currently, as of right now, in a playoff spot. Of course, the St. Louis Blues, the Buffalo Sabres, Nashville, maybe to a little lesser extent, scrapping and clawing. But right now, over the next 9 games that the Jets play, until they get that,
you could easily win break, 6 or 7 of those 9.
You
should.
The key is the key isn't that. The key is to show what they can do in terms of bringing a consistent effort. Because remember, if you remember, and this is a long time ago, when they played that St. Louis Blues game, it was at a 4-1 game as well. And they were very good. They dominated the Blues. And all we talked about was, if the Jets can do that consistently, they're going to be a very good hockey team. Well, they didn't do it very consistently. They kept winning hockey games, but they weren't doing that complete effort the way they did tonight. A full 60-minute effort, a great start every single period. And look, you're going to have off nights. You're not going to be able to do it every single night. But you want to be able to, what the truth is, you want to see them bring that type of effort against Carolina, against the Coyotes on Sunday. You're going to have a day off tomorrow. So tomorrow you get to chill. And then Sunday, you need to have, remember, and the other thing, look, they've been very good at home, 16-6 at home, but you don't play a lot of home games, right? After this, you're going back out on the road for 5, is it, Drew?
5 in a row.
So you want to take advantage of this game at home.
Yeah.
You want the fans to feel good about you. And again, like I said, it's another opportunity to show that this isn't a mirage. It's not you're just relying on Connor Hellebuck.
Did you like the Mirage chocolate bar, by the way, Dave? I was a big fan of that one.
Loved.
Loved it.
Loved it.
Yeah. It was kind of tasted like Aero.
Everyone's
the bubbles.
Yeah. It was a solid chocolate bar, Izzy. There's not even a question.
Yeah.
Now,
underrated. It was in nobody's top 5, but it was just a really solid.
It wasn't substantial. It was kind of like a brick, but it wasn't like substantial.
Yeah.
So
I've also mentioned this before on the show. Like, I always like Butterfinger because of the Bart Simpson commercials, and I just felt like Butterfinger was never given the. It wasn't given, as Drew says.
Yeah, I wasn't a big Butterfinger. What was the really gross one?
Sticks in your teeth a lot.
What was that gold? Wonder? Was it Wonder? What was that really gross gold one?
Wonder Bar.
Was it Wonder Bar? No, not Wonder Bar. Wonder Bar was like red and blue and white. There's that really gross. Remember?
Can you guys do this in your post game show? We have to get back together in literally 11 hours. So
can we maybe get Big Turk in the U.S. Actually, there's somewhere where you can't get Big Turk.
I don't remember. For the record, Drew, I may have tested this out talking to people as I'm delivering jerseys to the fans, to the folks, people, just in case you're aware. Some folks are going to get it mailed to them. Some people are going to get it delivered from me. I'm going to be doing more deliveries on Sunday. So look out for the Dave M. Mobile.
Matthew Thompson just threw out Three Musketeers. I remember my grandma Evelyn, she used to always get Three Musketeers for me. Also a very good chocolate bar, silver wrapper.
No, but the one that, the one I'm talking about, it was like almost, I don't know, kind of, what was it? It was like, I'm going to remember it in a
What
second.
color was the wrapper?
It was like gold, but it was gross.
Crunchy. Crunchy's good though.
No, you mean
The reason
like
why
crunch?
50 pounds. I like
Is it crunch? You mean like the blue and white one? That was crunch. For the record, Drew, what I was going to say is...
No, there's crunch and then there's crunchy.
Oh, crunchy. Yeah, that was it. That crunchy is disgusting. What was it? What's the inside crunch though as?
Sorry, crunch or crunchy?
No, the crunchy.
As he just swallows it whole like a duck, he doesn't actually chew, so he never knew what was inside any of these.
Well, the funniest thing is I know Ruben's my son because the chocolate coins that you give at Hanukkah.
Yeah, he just ate the coin. He just ate the foil.
He eats the chocolate around the
All right, fine. Just for the record, just what I was going to say.
Crunchy is amazing. I agree with
Sponge toffee. Thank you, Jeff Bose. That's it. Sponge toffee. Gross. Not my thing. Anywho, what I was going to say quickly, though, is when we talked about the concerts for 10, 15 minutes afterwards, folks were talking about concerts. And now folks are talking about chocolate bars.
The folks can talk about chocolate bars for 15 minutes. It doesn't mean that we necessarily do.
Well, let's move on.
Chew, Dave. If you could find one that wasn't like stale, because sometimes you would buy Charleston chews that like you couldn't really bite into. But if you found a nice soft Charleston chew, those are also good.
Illegal Curve merchandise contest, Dave.
Yes.
Manouk. So we have a unique code
how to get me
word.
back on track.
Yes, we have a unique code word for the Illegal Curve merchandise contest.
Stay tuned for this winner, folks. He's in the chat, and he's gonna be happy. There's gonna be a lot of happy.
Brought up Eat More too. Love and Eat More.
There's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna think he's a nice person. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to say too much though.
If you're new here and you don't know how to enter the Illegal Curve merchandise contest, you go to the show description on the YouTube page, you hit the drop down arrow, you'll see the link to the contest page. You'll go there. There's a whole lot of tasks that you can do to earn extra entries into the Illegal Curve merchandise contest.
Vacuuming, dishwashing.
Yeah, come to our house, you do the dishes. It's great.
And if you can't find it there on the YouTube page, go to the website, illegalcurve.com. Click basically any article. You'll see the link there to enter the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. We give away authentic Jets merchandise after each and every game. And at the end of the month, the grand prize winner for the month will get their choice of a game of any NHL game, 2 tickets to any NHL game of their choosing. So the more tasks you do, the more things you do, the more retweets, the more follows, the more comments, the more entries you're going to get, the more chances you're going to have to win the Illegal Curve merchandise contest.
A lot of people think they know who the winner is, Drew.
Yes.
Give the people what they want.
You want to give them the
winner first?
Okay,
give them the winner first because there's a lot of excitement in the chat already. I can see people are excited. Rob Mahoney.
Rob
Mahoney.
Hold on. How did people know that Rob won?
Because Dave gave it away when he said that this guy is a good person, because Rob Mahoney is the one who says that everybody is a good person.
Yes. So now Rob has to tell. Yeah, you missed it, as it was a little subtle giveaway, a little tell, if you will. And Rob, folks are going to be happy because Rob is always happy for other people when they win. And now now everybody gets to be happy for Rob.
I'm not sure why he's chirping Remus, but I'm happy that he's chirping Remus.
I think
we don't need context, Drew. There's no context required.
That you're chirping Remus.
Yeah, we're all good with it. We're all good with it. But congratulations,
I'm pretty sure
Rob.
Actually, you get bonus entries for chirping Remus. That's one of the things you do.
Yeah.
To get
Rob's already the grand prize winner. Way to go! Just kidding, Rob. Just kidding. But anyways, you did win the tough duck. You did win the Illegal Curve merch contest, so you're going to get some authentic Jets gear coming your way for entering our contest. We appreciate you. Always in the chat, always having fun. That's not a matter. That's not consistent with how you win, but it doesn't hurt. I wasn't like, let's say when I hit the button and the random selector and it picked you, a smile across my face because I knew.
Well deserved for Rob because Rob is like he's an original gangster of the Illegal Curve post game show. He's an OG, so he deserves it.
Thank you for explaining to us thank you for explaining what original gangster was. We appreciate that.
Some people don't know.
Oh, Spencer, just so you know, Frosty got his. Frosty was the longest. I think Frosty won game 8, just so you know. And Frosty just got his jersey today. So, yeah, some people wait a long time. But you know what? We had a nice chat, and it was worth it.
It's the absence of Dave that makes the heart grow fonder. So the longer you have to wait.
And more importantly, because for Spencer, I've got to bring Ezzy with me for your delivery, and that's a little bit more. I got to.
Oh yeah, then he's got to coordinate it with Ezzy's wife to be able.
We're going to broadcast that on YouTube. I think.
For sure. That we're doing a live stream
special presentation.
Yeah. It'll be a live stream. Anyways, so congratulations to Rob, and let's go for that. Let's go for that word here for Drew. And for those who are wondering what the word was, nobody guessed it. We went back to 2012 when the draft was in Pittsburgh. It's one of the only drafts actually that Illegal Curve didn't go to. We went, Ezzy and Remo went in 2011, and then we went as a crew from 2013 to 2016. Every year, had a great time doing that. But in 2012, the Jets made a franchise-defining selection in the 5th round, selecting Connor Hellebuyck with that 5th round pick from the Odessa Jackalopes. So that of course redefined. I actually can't believe it was 2012. Can't believe that Connor Hellebuyck was drafted that long ago.
Yeah,
seems like it was just yesterday.
At all?
No, I haven't actually. I look identical. It's always actually hilarious when you see that picture of me interviewing Kevin Cheveldayoff at the jersey reveal on the tarmac.
Yeah.
Like I think of that I was half the man I used to be. Anyways, so congratulations to Rob. For everyone who is listening on the podcast or watching the show right now, Connor Hellebuyck will get you 10 bonus entries to win. So you can be like Rob. You can be a good person. Well, you'll be a good person regardless, but you can get some entries and you too can win authentic Jets merch from Illegal Curve.
All one word, all caps, Connor Hellebuyck, because of course he was drafted when the draft was in Pittsburgh. So that is why Connor Hellebuyck is the unique code word for the Illegal Curve merchandise contest tonight. Be sure to get your entries in. Only, like I said, about another 8 or 9 games, or how many games left in this month? 9 games. Yeah. After that St. Louis game is probably when we're going to do the grand prize draw for the merch, for the 2 tickets to an upcoming 2 tickets to an upcoming Jets game, or actually an upcoming NHL game. It doesn't necessarily have to be Jets, but
I do know that the winner of the first grand prize contest, I contacted them.
Yeah,
they are going to the St. Louis game. Coincidentally,
there you go, on January 30th. So there you go. It's all coming full circle. Tough Duck hardest hitting comment, courtesy of our friends at Tough Duck. Ezzy, who is getting a toque based on your undetermined parameters for winning this contest?
They are undetermined. We're going to give it to a favorite here. We talk about Darwin quite a bit. We really like Darwin. We're going to give it to Darwin Moore. I sent it to you. It was back early in the post-game show, almost right at the beginning. There you go. I'm reading it in the chat, but I guess I could read it on the screen here. So shout out to Darwin. Our team rolled through the Penguins tonight. Perfetti, Wheeler, and Scheifele had an awesome game. Big save Dave came up with some big saves. Remember the one on Ricard Raquel was probably the biggest one, and our defense came to play. I like it. I mean, it was concise the way he summed up the game. And Darwin is a loyal IC post-game viewer.
He did in 2 sentences what we've done over the last hour and 20 minutes. So
yeah, well, the reality is, I mean, there's no secret for everybody that sticks with us here, Drew. Yeah. I mean, you have to fill it. You can only talk about the goals so much. That's why we fill it up with nonsense like chocolate bar talk and everything like that. So
remember when we first started these shows and we were planning on doing them for like 30 minutes, maybe 45 on the outside end, and now they're lasting almost
as long as the Saturday show. We're at an hour and 17 minutes here, but we love it. I mean, as long as there's people here having a good time, we're going to stay here. So Darwin, send me an email, Ezra, EZRA at illegalcurve.com, or you can slide into my DMs at ICSEG. So like giving that one to Darwin, because he's a good guy, loyal IC viewer, and always brings it in the comments.
Congratulations to Darwin, the winner of tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Dave, our friends at Seagram's have some messaging.
They just want to say thank you for putting on such a good quality program.
No, that's good. That's nice of them.
No, we're going to have some fun with Seagram's coming up. We're going to do some sort of Seagram's shot of the night contest coming up. What we'll see how we.
So are we all going to do a shot, Dave, or is it just going to be one of us that does the shot of Fireball?
Well, I don't know that we're going to do any shots live, Ezzy. I mean, and the reality is, as you well know, if anyone is going to be doing it, it is going to be you.
You guys remember the drunk hockey show?
I do remember
when you guys.
In fact, I have the T-shirt
when we did it at Shannon's. Shout out to
for the record, we didn't do
TJ Connors.
We didn't do it. Drew didn't do it.
No. It was just me, and it was Holly Bozeman from I don't know if she's still on Power 97. Do you remember Holly Bozeman?
I remember the name. I'm not sure if
she was on it too. And man, did we get tanked! Holy smokes, that was a long. Was
that way to Ezzy? Was that the time
that was like 10 years ago?
Was that the time you walked home and you weren't wearing gloves and it was like -40? We had to
no. I think it was. I walked home and I wasn't wearing shoes.
Yes,
I was wearing shoes, but I kicked them off a block from my house or something.
I know, but didn't.
I'm pretty sure you guys picked me up that night. Like
I was gonna say, isn't that the time?
Confusion Corner?
Yeah, Rich and I were driving
People,
home.
people
it was
don't know
the
this, but Rich,
It was
Dave
the
used to
middle of
just-
winter, folks.
Yeah,
it was
middle
the
of winter.
absolute
Dave and
dead
Richie,
middle
they
of
used to
winter.
just circle River Heights and Osborne and just
Mhm.
he'd be like, "Where's Waldo?"
Yeah, like I actually, and the weirdest part is we were coming home from the game and we're driving upriver, and I was like, "Is that Ezzy?" And it was. And then the best was, and I still have the pictures to show. We had to like pull him into the vehicle, and because he's like, oh, "I'm fine, I'll walk." And we're like, "Ezzy, get in the car." It was like -40. He was not wearing any gloves. He may have been wearing shoes, but
I really hope my kids don't years from now look up this episode of the show and then hear us talking about that. But
Oh, Ezzy, there's many episodes of this show that they can't look up. There's the
Yeah,
episode
exactly.
where when we were still on 1290, where you just didn't show up, and we just tried to piece your whereabouts together based on your increasingly intoxicated tweets in the middle of the night. And I think we
Oh, I
stopped when
remember
we got
that.
to 3 a.m. when all the tweets said in all caps was
Whee!
karaoke. At 3 a.m. It's like, well, there's no chance. And then you lost your wallet once in the didn't you lose your wallet that night?
oh yeah, that was again
those were dark times.
Yeah. Dark times. In any event, those
Anyway,
stories.
so we're gonna have some fun with our friends from Seagram's coming up. I don't know if it's gonna be starting on Sunday, but we'll have some. So ignite the night with our friends who sell the Fireball. I've got a couple of Fireball bottles behind me, and could always throw in the Fireball.
Stacey
wine.
S just said, "I'll do a shot with you."
I'll do I'll do a shot every now and then. It could be fun.
Fireball's delicious.
Well, we have it, guys. So I mean, we could always figure something.
It
out,
is
but
really nice.
We'll just have to figure out the legalities of doing shots.
Or we could
on-
just
on
sip
there.
a little whiskey, like you know.
We're on YouTube. There's no.
I'm talking about our friends at Fireball as to whether they would
Oh,
want
okay.
that, Drew.
Fair enough.
Sort of thing.
Like
So
legalities. I'm in the electrical room of my basement. There's no rules happening here. It's anarchy.
I'm really sure
Lawless.
I'm really sure you're actually still subjected to rules, Drew. We try and live in a society.
Yeah, but Drew,
of
you're in
laws.
an electrical room of a 10,000 square foot mansion. That's what you
Whoa,
didn't mention.
whoa,
there was the remote.
Maul's saying cheers from the Grove. We're not that far from the Grove, Ez. We could, old time's sake, we could wrap up the show
Grove.
and hit.
We want to go to the
hit
Grove. I'll go to the Grove right now.
I'd go to the Grove.
I'll
have a
let you
beer.
guys finish that off. We'll be back tomorrow
Like
morning.
10:15. It was an early game, so I mean, yes, we could hit the Grove.
I'm in if Spency's in.
Yeah. Why don't we do a little? Oh my God! Could you imagine if we did like an impromptu meetup right now at the Grove?
No, we're
The
not.
best
Like,
would
I'm
be
too tired.
like 9:00 in the morning. Drew's like, "Where are these guys?"
That's right. I'm trying to track it down from Ginsburg's tweets again. It's a disaster all in all. 9 a.m. tomorrow, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show back on our YouTube channel. Be sure to join us. And again, join us Sunday evening, 8:45, the Illegal Curve post-game show after the Jets and the Coyotes. Want to say big thank you, Frosty. Hope you're ready. Big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, they're the official title sponsor of this post-game show. Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. It's been a fun one. They usually are. This one was no different. 4-1, the Jets victorious over the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. For Dave Minuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks for watching. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow @Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.